For our next session today, we're going to talk more about the HRD Fund case study. Now we turn to one of Asia's best practices. Please welcome to the stage Datuk Ariff Farhan, former CEO of HRD Corp Malaysia, presenting Harnessing the Power of HRD Fund. And our moderator today would be Mr. Antonius Noviadi. So let's give a big hand and an applause as both of our gentlemen makes their way up to the stage. We give the session to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we need to do something like 10-15 seconds for stretching. I invite you to stand up. Okay? Stand up and move your shoulders, your hand over the head. Yeah, it's good for your health. We've been sitting for too long. Okay, thank you. Well, I feel the energy, vibrant and intellectual curiosity filling this room. It's great. It's an absolute pleasure for me to be here and welcome you to the third session for this afternoon. Before we started, just want to share something. Last November 2024, I got a privilege to be introduced to a very remarkable institution in Malaysia called HRD Corp. Yeah. At the time, I was invited to plan, to develop the content, the activities of the initiative, great initiative from Malaysia called ASEAN Skill of Years 2025, which conjunction with the chairmanship of Malaysia for ASEAN 2025. It was great. So, anyone from Malaysia in this room? Anyone from Malaysia? Hey, please, clap your hand for Malaysia team. Okay, anyone, just to let you know that by the time in Malaysia, there is something big happen there. This week, from the 14th of June up to 21st, end of this week, there will be over around 2.5 million of population in Malaysia, of employees in Malaysia, are sitting in the training the whole week. More than 2.5 million employees, with around 75,000 courses and around 2,000 training providers. And those activities are free. Yeah? And those activities are managed by HRD Corp. Yeah. It was a great, that's why today we are incredibly fortunate to have speaker from the very institution HRD Corp. Yeah, we'll be having a key lesson learned from the developing, implementing the HRD fund, from the policy design and employer engagement to digital systems. And the most important is measurable the outcomes. Yeah. One thing that last month, I was invited back to Malaysia and the symposium where we talk about the importance of the skills development, and the most important is the sustainability of the skills program, which relates, of course, with the money, with the fund. And we learned on that during that time, Malaysia shared a good or best practice on how to manage the fund and give impact significantly to the development of the talent in Malaysia. Okay, so I would like to introduce our speakers this afternoon. Datuk Ariff Farhan was the chief operating officer for the HRD Corp from 2020 to 2024. He was previously attached with the Institute of Strategy International Studies, a renowned policy think tank in Malaysia. He is currently a member of the board of University Technology MARA, which is Malaysia's largest university and an adjunct professor with Taylor's University, and serves on the industry advisory panel for University Science Malaysia. Okay, so without overdue, let's give a round of applause to Datuk Ariff Farhan Dos.
Thank you, Mr. Antonio. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I was invited to attend this conference and present or share with you the progress, the history, and the development of the Human Resource Development Corporation Fund in Malaysia by Pak Fadlik. And I don't know how I'm going to fit the whole experience in 30 minutes, but I'll try my best to pick the more pertinent points to share with you. The organization is branded as HRD Corp, or Human Resource Development Corporation, but its legal name is actually in Malay, Pembangunan Sumber Manusia Berhad. It was first established in 1993 as a council, so it was known as the Human Resource Council at that time, under the Labour Ministry, what the Human Resource Ministry was called at that time. In 2001, there was a piece of legislation passed in Parliament, which was called the PSMB Act of 2001. That piece of legislation allowed the organization to be able to collect what we call a levy from companies that have to register themselves if they have more than 10 employees. So in Malaysia, it is compulsory. If your company has got more than 10 employees, you must register with the Human Resource Development Corporation, and you must pay 1% of the person's salary to HRD Corp to be used for purposes of upskilling and reskilling. Now, what 1% means is, it may not translate to much. If the person is earning $2,000, then 1% is only $20 a month. So in 1 year, you only get to collect $240 per person. Now, but when you look at it in totality, because it is a fund, so it is a consolidated fund. Up to 2020, I will explain. 2020 was a defining year because of COVID. So there was a mindset change. Organizations realized they had to change. The government realized that they had to step in and intervene. And the organization itself knew that it had to change for it to be able to deliver on what the government promises its people. Up to 2020, we only covered 3 industries, 3 sectors: manufacturing, services, mining, and quarry. So at that time, HRD Corp was collecting from about 23,000 companies. We were only collecting around 400 million a year. At the best of times, maybe up to 600 million a year. That was up to 2020 and covering 3 sectors. In 2021, the government passed or expanded the PSMB Act of 2001. It expanded the act. And today, we collect levy from all companies with 10 employees and above. Today, we collect 2.6 billion a year. Okay? Let me just share some statistics with you. Yeah. I'm sharing with you the statistics from 2023 because the 2024 statistics has not yet been published, but it's not very far from the 2023 achievement. So today we collect around 2.6 billion. That was for 2024. We collect 2.6 billion. And we have around 100,000 registered employers with HRD Corp. Now, we only cater to companies 10 employees and above, but companies with 5 employees and above are also encouraged to fund or to place their levy with us for purposes of voluntary training. So with this collection of levy, in 2023, claims disbursement was almost 1.52 billion, covering 2.2 million places, or rather 1 million unique employees were trained in 2023, in the whole year. In 2024, we trained 1.6 million employees with 2.5 million training places. So now I want to go back to the question of why do you need a consolidated fund such as this? In Malaysia, before we had a fund, usually large corporations have no problems with training. They have a dedicated L&D department that focuses on training. But below that, the SMEs and the micro SMEs, training especially is not a priority for these organizations. And in Malaysia, you must understand that almost 30% of companies, SME, micro SME, are family owned. And their priority is always the bottom dollar or profits. But Malaysia, the government has expectations or is expected to be able to protect its citizens and to ensure that all Malaysians are skilled so that in times of crisis, when companies close down, these employees have got skills that will ensure that they are employable in other industries or rather get employed in other companies without too much of a delay. So this is where the government had to step in and to ensure that training became or would become one of the company's top priorities other than profits. So it is for this reason that employers were forced, because of the piece of legislation, to place their levy with HRD Corp. Just for your information, it is a civil offense and has got criminal liabilities if companies that are required to place their levy with HRD Corp but do not do so. So there is a criminal liability attached, which is why a lot of companies reluctantly place their levy with us. So it is not an institution which is universally liked in Malaysia. You have those who believe in training, who willingly fund with us, but you also have organizations which reluctantly place their money with us. So therefore, HRD Corp as an institution have to find ways and means to ensure that the money that is placed to HRD Corp is utilized to the best of its purpose, meaning to get employers to utilize their fund, we have to ensure that we are able to supply with them trainers of a certain quality with subject matter expertise and able to deliver training that will impact upon their ROI. Because one of the reasons why companies are reluctant to place their levy with HRD Corp is that they feel that HRD Corp does not have the expertise to be able to deliver the training that they need, number one. Number two, they feel that their money is tied up with HRD Corp, money that which can be used in times of crisis for other purposes, like marketing, branding, purchase of equipment, purchase of technology, and so on. So it is the role of HRD Corp to prove to these companies that there is value in placing their funds with HRD Corp. Today, utilization rate at HRD Corp has reached almost 75%, which means since 2020, since COVID, more and more companies have realized the importance of training. Since COVID, we have had almost 20% of micro SMEs which have closed down, leading to about almost 100,000 being unemployed within a period of 12 months during the period of COVID. And this is where HRD Corp was challenged to ensure that the people were retrained, reskilled, and then placed in new positions in new companies. And that took place in 2020, which then convinced the government to expand the PSMB Act in 2021 to include all industries in Malaysia. And that is where we are at today. Now, there is also a provision in the PSMB Act. If a company does not utilize their levy within 2 years, that means if you have already placed with HRD Corp, say about $10,000, and if you don't utilize it within 2 years, you lose your 10,000. The 10,000 will go into a pool fund, and this pool fund is used to train unemployed, single mothers, ex-convicts, and also unemployed graduates, for example. So if you utilize your fund within a 2-year period, you utilize it for your own employees. Otherwise, the fund is put into a pool fund for all Malaysians. So this is a all of government, all of society approach to skilling, training, upskilling, reskilling, and cross-skilling in Malaysia. So this model is now being studied by countries in ASEAN, and Malaysia, being chair of ASEAN for 2025, is aggressively promoting the model, and we are helping our neighboring countries to adopt the attractive parts or the good parts of the HRD Corp model to be amended and to be used in their own country in their own fashion. So this is where we are at. We have progressed over the years. Before 2020, a submission of a training program for approval can take anywhere between 1 to 2 weeks. Today, the training approval for training shouldn't take more than 24 hours. And this is possible because of machine learning. Yeah? Machine learning helps us to learn from the thousands of applications that we receive in a single day for training. We have now, and the machine has made processes so smart, we are able now to process applications within a 24-hour period. As for payment of claims, it used to take between 2 to 3 months for claims to be approved. That means after the training program, it normally takes 2 to 3 months for you to receive payment. Again, because of machine learning, we have now made sure that we are able to pay within 7 days if all the documents are submitted on time and in order. So these are some of the progresses we have made in HRD Corp. We have introduced a national training index. We are now able to measure the level of training that takes place in the country by industry, by sector. We are able to identify which sectors need more help than others, which industry needs more help than others. And that is made available with the data available to the National Training Index, first introduced in 2023. Okay? We also have, we have digitalized our processes. We have a super app. So the end-to-end processes of interacting with HRD Corp now can be done through a super app. So all this is to make the process or to make the matching of companies with training providers and trainers much more easier. Because as I said, the role of HRD Corp is to ensure that we are able to match the right trainer, right training provider with the company at the right time as required by the company. So for it to work, we have to ensure that we have a process to deliver quality trainers, which is why in HRD Corp, we introduced a 5-day Train the Trainer program. And through this, we have got vendors who provide a 5-day training for those interested in becoming a trainer. In these training modules, we focus on design of programs, delivery of programs, training needs analysis, presentation, and also being able to work with the employer. After one goes through the training, one is then expected to do 2 hours of training in a year to be able to be accredited. And this was done to ensure that we can weed out the not so good trainers from the good trainers. We used to have 10,000 trainers in Malaysia at one time. Today we have 3,500 over trainers accredited, right? And we are still trying to resolve the problem of ensuring that we can find a way for employers to be able to identify good trainers easier, faster, and better, okay? Because one of the problems in Malaysia with regards to trainers is this. There are companies who hire trainers because they are entertaining. They are good entertainers, you know? And usually employees are very happy to have these trainers. But these trainers may not necessarily be of substance. Neither, they may not be subject matter experts. So we too are in a position now, we find ourselves in a position where we have to educate employers on who makes a good trainer, on what makes a good trainer. So that is why we are looking to introduce courses for owners of companies, for senior management of companies, so that they understand the need for training and the type of training that is required for their employees. So these are all some of the innovation that is taking place in HRD Corp. There is so much more for us to do, so much more for us to learn, but we feel that there are so many best practices to be learned from around the world, and we regularly interact with them through conferences. We have the National Human Resource Conference every year in Malaysia. We also organize boot camps for trainers so that trainers learn from their peers, especially master trainers. And this is to ensure that we have a continuous supply of trainers for employers to choose from, knowing that employers now, the number of employers in Malaysia has increased to 100,000 registered employers, and we see this growing in future. So we have to make sure that HRD Corp is able to meet the demands of employers. Now, technology. We've learned that technology can work for the better. It can also be negatively exploited at times, which is why HRD Corp has to be a repository of trainers with qualifications which are not doctored, not bogus. We also have to ensure certifications which are legitimate, because with technology you can use a photostat machine and print out a very good-looking certificate in minutes from an institution unknown or probably not even existent. So these are all challenges we face, because if we do not play our role as regulators well, then we lose the trust of the employers. And employers will find the need, or they will find less need for training, because if there's no trust, then it's very difficult. Another problem we are looking at, and maybe we can work with the ROI Institute and IFTDO, is with regard to convincing employers why training is important. We always hear this complaint. Trainers feel that there is no direct link between training and outcomes. No direct link between training and tangible profit, or it does not correlate. So and most often is because employers do not have the tool to measure the impact of training for their production or for their bottom ringgit. It's for this reason that we have to continue to look for tools, for partners, to be able to convince employers that training has to be accelerated, especially in today's world where technology is rapidly evolving, where people are leaving schools and finding less reasons to go on to do a degree with a higher institution of learning, because they have this need to immediately from the school to enter the workforce. And they enter the workforce with basic education, hoping that the internet, YouTube, online learning will suffice. Because people don't have the luxury of time anymore to go through a 4-year degree program or a 3-year degree program. So they go online and then immediately into the workforce, which is where training comes in. Because as micro-credentials become more and more important, then short training programs probably can replace some of the tasks that were carried out by traditional institutions of higher learning. So these are some of the things that HRD Corp is focusing on. and hoping, and through ASEAN especially, we are able to leverage on our neighbors through maybe having I understand that Pak Farlik is focusing on developing an ASEAN IFTO. So maybe if that comes through, then maybe that will be a medium in which we can collaborate, where countries in ASEAN can share human resource with each other, we can share trainers with each other, and training providers can move country to country to share their expertise within their specific domains. Okay. In HRD Corp, we also have developed industrial skills framework for different industries, different sectors. What we do is we call employers, either the CEOs or their heads of operations, to sit within a committee and to develop a skill framework for each industry. Through this, we are then able to link with trainers in a different committee called sectoral training committees, so that we are able to match the requirements of companies or industries with the supply of talent for skilling, for training. Right? So we have produced frameworks for all the sectors in Malaysia, and this is non-exhaustive. We publish this every quarterly. So every quarterly, when there is a development within the industry, we then communicate this to the training industry to ensure that they are able to supply the training provided required within these sectors or within this industry. Okay. That's my presentation. I'll try to squeeze as much as possible into the 30 minutes, but if you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Dato Ariff, Farhan. I think some points that we need to reemphasize is whenever financial crisis occur, of course some industry will get the advantage while the other got the problem, and when it comes to the problem, the industry will do some efficiency, cost cutting, and the first cost center that will be cut is training. And that's the challenge. The sustainability of the training, of the reskilling, upskilling, and so on and so forth is we need to ensure. And this HRD Corps, I think I can say it's the answer for the countries that to ensure that the sustainability of the development of our talents. I think that's something that good that I need to also emphasize here is it starts not only the big companies, but also up to the micro SMEs. This is something very, very positive. Yeah. And again, when the result or the impact should be assessed, then HRD Corp released the National Training Index, where everybody in the countries can see in which industry that the level of the needs, the level of the skill of our employees can be measured. Yeah, can see. Okay, I think we still have quite some times for our discussion. I will open the floors to anyone who has a question. Please raise your hand. Anyone? It's Mr. President.
I'm a Malaysian, but I will ask on behalf of Indonesians.
Okay.
So when I mean, as I say to many of my friends and families in IFTDO, I left the training world 18 years ago and doing a lot of mentoring for entrepreneurs and so on. I was assuming that when I left in 2009, Indonesia would have followed the proven track record of HRD Corp, since we established during Mahathir time in 1993. And we have a friend here, Dr. Pritam, Dr. Pritam, can you stand up for me, please? Dr. Pritam, all over, can we give him a round of applause? Dr. Pritam is from Mauritius. He's the Deputy Director of Human Resource Development Council, Mauritius. So they've been studying Malaysia from 1993, and they have formed Mauritius Human Resource Council in 2003, correct? Thank you, sir. You will join us at the stage tomorrow. Thank you, sir. My question to Datuk Ariff. From 1993 to all the journey that you have shared just now, but only until 2020, when you became the COO of HRD Corp, what drives you as a CEO of HRD Corp that maybe can share to some of the drivers of HR and HRD initiative in Indonesia that make you go to the government, knock on their doors, and practically tell them the importance or the ROI of the nation in terms of knowledge workers and so on, and make them pass the bill that every single company more than 5 workers have to contribute for the 1% levy for the training. And I believe maybe the MNC company would have participated many years ago, but you have increased the probability of having the SMEs. You know, the SMEs, you convince the SMEs that, hey, not just making money, training and reskilling is very important for your growth as well. So but can you share with us here in Indonesia, how you convince, even though you have the bill passed by the government, but how do you convince the SMEs who only focus mostly on profit, not really on training, but how do you convince the SMEs in Malaysia that training is important and pay the 1% levy? Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh Fali. Please, Datuk.
Okay, thank you for that question. I think HRD Corp, we were lucky at the time, 2020, because of what happened, COVID. Malaysia was in shutdown for almost 4 months in 2 phases. So in total, maybe about almost 5 months. During that period, more than 100,000 people lost their jobs in Malaysia. And almost 20% of SMEs and micro SMEs closed shop during that period of time. And the government was faced with this crisis, not only to ensure that graduating students, in Malaysia, we have almost 350,000 students graduating every year. So we have to make sure that they have jobs. And we also have to make sure that those who just lost their jobs because of COVID, managed to find new jobs. And during this period, we realized, and the government also experienced how difficult it is, especially during that period of COVID, for companies to hire people. So companies were not going to easily hire people unless they were ready to work, unless they were work ready, meaning they came with skills required, which means they can already start work from day one, which means they already have had to have training, they already need to be skilled for them to be able to employ. And it was during this time that government realized that they had to intervene, and that is why the PSMB Act of 2001 was expanded to cover all industries and all sectors. And that's how we managed to convince the government to pass the expanded PSMB Act of 2001. And it was because of the expansion of that act that today we have increased from 23,000 companies to more than 100,000 companies being registered under HRD Corp. And from a fund of 400 to 600 million a year, today we collect about 2.5 to 2.6 billion a year. which also means that the training industry has become a very lucrative industry, which is why suddenly we have so many people registering to become trainers because of this huge pool of fund. Of course, it has its pros and cons, which means that we also have to supervise and monitor the quality of trainers. We have so many people coming into the market who may not necessarily be cut out to be trainers. But this is a challenge that the organization faces, and it has been trying gradually, which is why we introduced the accreditation in 2023. Before that, we didn't have the accreditation. And before the accreditation, we had 10,000 trainers in the country, which is a large pool for a country of only 33 million population and only less than 5 million working adults in companies. Yeah. So this is the challenge that we are still facing. Even after introducing accreditation, we still had no choice but to allow more and more people to be accredited. We had to relax some of because these are political considerations. We had to relax some of the requirements so that more people be accredited. But we've managed to reduce the 10,000 to 3,000 today, 3,000 accreditation. But I expect this figure to continue to grow again because of probably political pressure, where more people will appeal to the government to get their accreditation. So this is something that we have to live with. With regards to your second question, sorry, what was it again, sorry?
How to?
HRD Corp?
Yeah, what drives the HRD Corp?
Okay.
Yeah.
Why training is essential for any country is because, especially with new technology, there's always going to be a supply and demand challenge for Malaysia. For example, Malaysia in the last 2 years, we have embarked on becoming a hub for data centers, number one. Number two, we're also very big on trying to lure foreign investment in new technology. But companies will only come to your country if you have a ready supply of talent. So it's always going to be a chicken and egg story. So if you do not have the talent, then you're not going to attract the biggest and best companies to come to your country. So this is where organizations like HRD Corp have a role to play. Because we realize that unlike traditional qualifications where you have to spend 3 to 4 years, there are ways and means of producing talent through short courses, short programs, micro-credentials, and we can accelerate the supply of talent so that this will enable the government to be able to bring in companies and organizations with new technology to increase the FDI and also GDP for the country. So this is what drives HRD Corp and drives the country, drives the government in supporting HRD Corp so that we can produce talent in an accelerated fashion. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Thank you very much. Can I ask for just 2 simple clarifications before my question? Did you say that you accredit individuals or organizations of training?
Trainers.
Trainers, the individuals.
Yes.
Not the organizations.
No.
That's quite the opposite of what we do. We accredit organization, but that's interesting.
Yes.
Maybe we can learn from it.
Yeah.
The second question is clarification, is to what level do you go? Skilling, and then do you do leadership training as well?
We have different forms of training. We have coaching.
Yes.
For leadership.
Great.
We've got training, technical as well as soft skills. And then we have we have internships, we have apprenticeships. So there are many different forms of training, but right up from senior management to the basics, we have trainings.
Excellent. Just now the question, does your article of association, your mandate, allow you to operate outside Malaysia, meaning to render services to other countries?
We don't have a specific mandate to offer services in other countries, but our trainers are able to go anywhere in the world. Okay. So our job is to develop trainers And then trainers can offer their services anywhere in the world. HRD Corp, the organization, stands to support our training community as well as training providers.
So you're more, you did say, I think there was a service element, but you're more of a regulator than a service provider, right?
We actually do a little bit of both. We are a regulator in the sense that we control the quality and the transactional nature of business between trainer, training provider, and employer. So we are the custodian and guardian of that transaction. But at the same time, we also provide services. For example, we've brought in training programs from overseas. And we've introduced programs which we call signature programs. So we try to source for the best training programs worldwide, and we try to make it easier for those programs to be made available in the country. Yeah? So that is why we are looking for good programs, Indonesian trainers or trainers from anywhere in the world who want to offer your programs in Malaysia. You can work with HRD Corp, and they will facilitate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think our time is up. So after over 30 years, HRD Corp has shown their contribution, their impacts to the upskilling, reskilling, uplifting the quality of talents in Malaysia. And in 2025, through the ASEAN Year of Skills 2025 initiatives, Malaysia have intention to, related with the last question, has intention to share, to spread this practice in the region at least. So that's why they offer to Laos, Cambodia, even to Indonesia to give the assistance. This kind of practice is very applicable anywhere, except Singapore. I think Singapore they have already had. Thank you very much, Datuk Ariff Farhan. Please give big applause to Datuk Ariff. Thank you very much.